Hello and welcome to another Telltale video. There was a Comic-Con teaser video. It's not very long, but it was released yesterday. We're going to take a look at it, and then I'm going to break down stuff that I noticed in it and just have a little talk about it. Basically, here's the teaser right now.
We haven't seen anything like you in ever. Kids are safe here. We make sure of it.
I've always taken care of myself. Can we stay here? It's hard to trust people sometimes. Places change, so do people. Clem, you're in danger. You and AJ both.
So there we have it. There's the teaser. I have already seen it, but I thought it was actually pretty good. We saw a lot of imagery, lots and lots of imagery, and some of it was very, very minor, but some of it was seemingly like a much bigger deal. So first up, the first thing we see is Clementine with a bandaged head. Got a bit of blood on the bandage and everything. However, if you remember the gameplay from E3, this is the identical gameplay from E3. The difference is the head bandage with the injury. So what could happen is that this is a determinate injury, kind of like we've had injuries in the past that are determinate, and how much of an effect this will have on the main storyline is I'm not sure. I'll just show you the gameplay from E3, and you can see that it actually has Clementine coming in to the same, it's exactly the same scene with Marlon in the background, just without a bandage, and this one obviously from this teaser with a bandage. So there's two possibilities. It was beta gameplay from E3, so it could potentially just be in the storyline wasn't fully like wrapped up, or even the assets were not created 100%. Graphically, the teaser looks much more defined, much more crisp than the E3 gameplay did, if I'm honest. So it could be part of the main storyline, or it could be a determinate injury. It could be based on choices you made in Season 3. You know, they have done this in the past as well. One also thing to mention is the narration was by Marlon, you know, and he said, I think it was something along the lines of, "We haven't seen anyone like you in ever." And he's got that right. He's got that right. Clementine is definitely a one-off.
We haven't seen anything like you in ever.
So there is one more picture of the head injury with the bandage. This was from the Telltale Games Twitter. It did fade to black a bit too quickly in the trailer to really catch that, but I think it's some pretty good imagery. And so we'll go on to the next set of images, and it is of a group. We don't really see it too well. Again, though, it was shared on Twitter, another image, and I'll just bring that one up. So we have a group of 5 characters. Obviously, we know a couple of them. Marlon and Lewis are newer characters, obviously, to the final season. Clementine, of course. We have Rosie the dog. Now, the two in the background, I'm not 100% sure who they are. However, later in the trailer, we do hear someone talking and saying, you know, Clementine, you're in danger. I have looked into this a little bit, and that is someone called Brody, and they're meant to be a red-haired woman or a red-haired girl. And if you look at the background, I think that's someone carrying a rabbit, who's also got like a fire torch in her hand, also has red hair. So that could be Brody, possibilities. I'm not 100% certain, but it looks like they've gone out hunting. We've got Marlon with his nice bow there, and we've got another bow in the background. Rosie just doing Rosie things. It's going to be awesome having an animal in the game, I'm going to be honest. But yeah, okay, so we're going to move on to the next ones. Now this one was just a very small thing that I noticed. There was like a jacket, I don't know, motif that Clementine was wearing. It kind of looks like, I don't know, a biker jacket. I don't think it's going to have too much of an attachment to the storyline, but who knows, it really could. But it's, you know, she didn't have it when she left Richmond, but she has it now. She could have picked it up on the way. It could be part of, you know, the story between leaving Richmond and finding, you know, where she is right now. Who knows about the situation there. It does look like a sort of biker. I think it's an engine, some chains. I'm not really sure. So it does look like an engine on the back of her jacket. And I assume this is from the same sort of scene. It looks like the same sort of jacket. This picture is not from the teaser, but it's one of the previously released art pictures. But I think it's the same sort of thing. She's actually using the knife. That's why she brought it out in the little scene. It was a very, very short like cut. I think it was just to show. Might even have been to show the motif on the back of the jacket. Who knows? Maybe a very small teaser. That's what I'm thinking about. But who knows? We'll have to wait and see about that. But in the next one, we can see that Clementine is holding a bow. I assume she's going hunting or something along those lines. We did see in the trailer a long time ago, basically, that they were, fishing. So it just seems like a lot of, gathering and stuff like that, which kind of makes sense. We are quite a way in the future now in terms of how we're going to have to get food, and hunting seems to be, obvious one. Bow and arrow, if she's got skills, that's great. A nice silent way of hunting. But you can see on one of her hands, the one that's holding the bow steady, she is missing a finger, and that was one of the determinant outcomes from season 2, I believe. She could have lost a finger. She could have got a scar on her forehead. She could have got a scratch on her cheek or a tattoo on her hand based on how you finished the game, whether you stayed at Wellington, you left on your own, or you stayed with Kenny. Whatever choice you made based on those choices is what injury you got out of those 4. And so it is nice to see that those are still carrying on, I guess. Whether they're going to have much of an influence on this season, it's hard to know. I have actually thought about the previous seasons, even back to season 1, where it popped up in some of the final scenes saying like Clementine will remember this. How much of an influence is this going to have? Like, this is the last season, and basically this is the season where they can have all of that matter, because the way the season works, they don't have to think about the next season. I did hear things about the Batman season, and they had the last episode of the Batman season was 2 completely different episodes based on your choices throughout the rest of the season, which sounds like really cool, and I hope they bring something like that into The Walking Dead. That'd be absolutely amazing. So next up, we have a bunch of images as Clementine's talking to AJ, and she's saying, about if people are trustworthy or not. Still, I guess it must be really hard. Like, you just don't know. You just don't know whether you can trust people, and it goes through various characters. It has Clementine and AJ on a bunk bed, and I think we saw this from imagery or the gameplay from E3 as well. We also see Lewis and we see Violet, just seeing their faces basically. Then it jumps to an image of 10, who is in front of 2 graves. On the graves are marked Minerva and I believe Sophie. The Sophie one is in the darkness, but I have double checked. I think it does say Sophie, but I'm just happy that the harder to read one is the easier name, just so that I wouldn't be able to guess Minerva really. I'm not sure who they are. Obviously, they could be family, they could be friends. Obviously, they're 10 cares about these guys, so it potentially just past characters or past people within the community who have been killed, based on what happens next and what is said next. A voice is saying, Clementine, you're in danger, you and AJ both, and this is just to maybe like hammer home the sort of danger potential and make us all scared. That's basically what is trying to happen. So yeah, that's basically the next scenes. It cuts to pictures of Clementine and AJ. Clementine just walking around the school with a candle out, sort of. I guess this is probably when she first comes here. She's just having a look around. Maybe she spots something that's a bit off. I don't know. And it does, cut back to AJ just sitting on a bench. We see a lot of the scene, and I do really like the graphic style. I think it looks really nice, I'm going to be honest. I think the background graphics are, like I said in the previous videos that I've released, I like the sort of like the comic book style they've gone to in terms of really dark blacks and just like outlines, and it's really just, it looks like I like the change, basically. I really like the change, and the detail on like the shirt of AJ here is just insane. Like, I did say this in the trailer as well, it looks like they're wearing clothes rather than their clothes are just part of their skin, which can happen in games, basically, just the way that it's built. It looks layered, it looks really well layered, and I really do feel like, you know, I'm looking at a person, just an animated person, rather than just like, you know, I don't know. It just looks great. So the last picture we see is Clementine in this sequence, and it's a shame that she doesn't have her eyes open in this. She just starts to open her eyes as it goes away, because this would have been an amazing picture. I'm assuming that when it actually happens in the game, this is an amazing like wallpaper basically. I would have used this probably instantly on some platforms. Definitely great for a thumbnail. I like this picture a lot. Yeah, I think the lighting's done well as well, because the light comes across the camera. I think there's just a lot of things they've done really well in terms of what I can see on the face of things. Like what Telltale are known for is great story, and they're just bulking out the game even more, and it's just going to be even more, it's going to suck me into the environment. I'm going to feel like I'm really part of it, and it's going to just be even more enjoyable because of this. And then it flashes between 3 separate scenes, and they're kind of dark scenes, I think it's Clementine, AJ, and Violet who are just sort of hiding or crouching down behind, I think it's a barrel or something, basically hiding away from a walker. Then we see them charging through walkers, it looks like they're escaping from somewhere, maybe from the school. It's hard to know where they are, but they're carrying bags. Clementine's got a knife in her hand. They've got AJ with them as well. And then the last image is basically in a forested area with traps. These huge boulders tied up. This is no small thing. This takes a lot of manpower. This could potentially be like showing you the sort of the danger. This is where the danger is really coming from, some other group or something like this, because takes a lot to do to get that up. I think we see a couple of walkers in here, so I'm assuming these traps are mainly for them. It's hard to know. The last image that we see of the group is it cutting to Clementine, who is turning around just sort of like sheepishly. I'm going to be honest, she looks either shocked, like something's just happened. She's got her body language, her hands are out. It's kind of strange. The reaction of people in the background, we've got someone with their hands on their head. Doesn't look like a great scene in terms of like what's just happened. It's hard to know. The person who was speaking during the scene as well, where it's saying Clementine, you're in danger, I did say earlier, it's called Brody. And they've got it's a girl who has got red hair. I've read up, whether that's correct or not, I don't know. There are only 2 characters that I saw have red hair. I'm not sure if they're the same character or not. I assume they are. And you can see the red-haired character in the background here, and also in the picture from earlier when they were walking through the woods. So this potentially could be Brody. We haven't seen this character in the early reveal. I think it was at PAX East where they really revealed like a few characters. Brody was not one of those characters, so no idea how much of a headline they're going to have. But I mean, this scene doesn't look great. I mean, I'm kind of nervous on this scene. I wasn't really sure what was going on. I see reflective on her arms, on her hands. I wasn't sure if that was blood or, she could. Who knows what the situation is there. But the reaction does not look great. Like something's just happened. They could be taken. They could be taken hostage right now by another groups. Who knows? And then the final image is basically the very first adult we see in this season's Telltale games, and it is I don't know what else to say. It's just a balding guy with 2 different color eyes. By the looks of things, it looks like one of his eyes is darker than the other, smoking a cigar. And the way they framed the entire thing, you're in danger, showing a lot of like, situations where, she's fleeing, she's hiding from a walker, the sheepish reaction on the turn, and then you see this guy. It kind of just builds this, frames this guy as being like the main antagonist, the big issue of the season. I did look up what the different eye color means. It's called heterochromia iridium, and it means when both your irises are different colors. Now, it can happen for 2 reasons. Well, it can happen for multiple reasons, but the main reason is obviously you're born with it, and it's just completely natural. Everyone used to only have brown eyes, and then over generations, effectively you could call them anomalies, started coming in with people getting blue eyes, green eyes, you know, lighter brown eyes, so on and so forth. I'm a big anomaly because I've got blue eyes. But some people do, and it's very rare to have two different iris colors different. However, you can get it from receiving an injury, a head injury. If you get like a blunt force trauma to the head, one of your irises actually can change color. And you can get it from having a syndrome, I think it's called Waardenburg syndrome, and basically other things that come along with this are, you know, I think it's deafness and stuff like this. So it's hard. I mean, I doubt it's that situation, just because it would be very hard to, I mean, it would, I think it would maybe highlight how much of a badass he was if he had that, you know, where he was, you know, he was deaf, and I think you have some visual issues as well. But I think it's probably just genetic. It's just for the look, and he does, you know, it does look pretty badass. He doesn't look very washed. A good friend of mine will be very upset about another character that doesn't know how to wash. But basically, I'm not too happy about this guy. He isn't being framed very well for me. He does look pretty mean, just from looking at him. Just a drag on the cigar was enough for me to be like, nope, no, don't like this guy. I don't like this guy at all. But that was the last image, and that was the entire teaser. I'm really looking forward to playing the game. It is a few weeks away now. We're looking at what, less than 30 days, and I am really looking forward to it. We're going to see a lot more gameplay between now and then. We're going to see a lot more teasers, and I'll try and get as much of it together for you guys and just give you my reaction and my thoughts on certain, you know, stuff that I notice. But yeah, that's the end of this video, guys. Tell me what you think about this teaser. It was only a minute, but we got so much information and so much stuff, like so much thoughts can come into this. It's insane. But yeah, thank you very much for tuning in, guys, and have a good one. Goodbye.